All right, well, let's welcome everybody to our second doc party. I have said it many times. This man is my favorite vocalist of all time, Mr. Bill Champlin. Formed Sons of Champlin in 1965, member of Chicago from 1981 to 2009. An incredible solo career with albums such as Single, Runaway, No Place Left to Fall, and his newest album, Living for Love, right here. Yeah. Formed Wunderground in 2018 with his wonderful wife, Tamara, Gary Falcone, Burley and Mary of Ambrosia. You're an incredible songwriter. After the Love Is Gone, Turn Your Love Around, musician, vocalist. I could sing your praises all day long. And the craziest thing is, like, I call you an onion because doing the Yacht Club and being on the radio and talking about you all the time. I mean, people are kind of getting sick of me with it, but seriously,
hey, how sick of me they are.
Singing your praises. I thought that I knew so much about you. And yet I continue to peel those layers, and discover more things about you. For instance, that you sang on the Tubes completion backward principle, that you duetted with Patti LaBelle for Miami Vice. I mean, I keep, every time I do research on different songs, it's like your name pops up and I'm going, hold on a second. I did not know that. So everybody welcome the incredibly talented Bill Champlin to our doc party.
Thank you. Hello. What it be, what it was, what is too old to ever be again. Oh, anyway, so I'm just jiving around. So, I got right off the bat. I just got to apologize for really shot pipes. I've got my once a year air conditioning summer cold. It's just got me so full of garbage that it's ridiculous. So, I mean, the voice is not bad. It's just the breathing makes a lot of noise. I sound like a growling dog sometimes. But I was just in the studio. Tamara and I were doing a duet for a Puerto Rican record in the studio the last couple of days, which is monstrous. I mean, it's going to be a great little piece.
A Puerto Rican record. Hold on a second. Is it English or Spanish?
It's in English.
Really?
Well, he sent lyrics in English, and they were really good. They were great, and they weren't quite fitting where we were going to put it. So Tamara and I wrote the lyrics on it.
Wow.
And this guy's name is Carlos Baez, and he's I played with him once. He's a drummer and a keyboard player, and we just had a ball. We had a ball working on the record. So we're we'll probably do some more on the record.
That's amazing.
Elefante did a little bit on the record. He's putting together a pretty good hands across the water kind of thing, him and different American singers and stuff. So it's gonna be a pretty cool album. We smoked it. I mean, I listened back and said, God, I sound like I don't have a cold, which I know I do. It's one of those.
Well, we hope you feel better. And I just want to say thank you for being on tonight. I know being sick is no fun. I want to dive in really quickly because I have a couple of questions about your brand new album, Living for Love. My main question is, was this a pandemic album, or had you guys started writing this album before everybody went into lockdown?
Well, there were about 3 songs that we had in a catalog for a second Wunderground album. And I realized that they were just turning out to be pretty much all me. And I asked Tamara and Gary if they'd minded if I put it on a solo album. So I changed them up a little bit and stuff like that. But other than that, I think I wrote at least half of the record during the pandemic, just because, hey, there's nothing to do. I can't go play live. And we've played very little live in the last year and a half. And nobody has really.
Right.
Just starting to open up, although they're looking like they might want to close it back down again. But, we'll fight that battle and talk about that one at another lunch. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As simple as that. So that's kind of, I was like, well, I'm sitting here, I'm doing nothing. I can't watch. I've seen all the 2.5 Men reruns I can look at. And I've got a Pro Tools rig up in the guest house. Let's go to work. Actually, I was writing the title tune of the album, and Tamara came home. She was out doing something. She came home and she said, what are you doing? I said, well, what do you think of this? And I played it, and she said, Bill, it's time for a solo album. It's been 12 years since your last one. Why don't you do one? So she kind of saw that I was kind of ready to do it. And I kind of want to, I read somewhere where somebody said, if it isn't personal, it isn't art. So I put some stuff in there that was pretty deep. it was, I mean, at least pertaining to me, it was, there's a song in there called Just Another Lie that's really about my family.
Wow. Yeah, I love that song. I do love that song. I told
Well,
you
it's about my son who passed away 3 years ago.
Yeah.
My older son, not Will,
Right.
Brad.
Brad.
I was diagnosed with cancer the day before he passed away from cancer. So it was like, I had a rough year, especially a rough week. No question about it. But
Right.
I mean, I've been such a musician. I mean, I'm not saying I'm a great musician, but that's all I've done since I was 14. I think I joined a musician's union when I was 14 or something.
Wow.
And that's 6 years. Yeah.
You look amazing.
Fat champ. Anyway, that yeah, right. Lying sack that he is. But it just seems to be, somebody said, what is art? It's art comes when you do your craft on a regular basis all the time. Eventually, sometimes it just turns into art. It's the way it works.
Yeah, and sometimes you have to draw inspiration from the good, the bad, and the sad.
Yeah.
And it turns into this interesting type of art that you put out to people that I think people really connect with.
Well, I mean,
on all
a
different
friend
levels.
of mine played Another Lie for a friend of his, and he said, "Well, that's a really great '80s ballad." Then he told him the story of what the song was about, and the guy listened to it again. He was crying. So it's like one of those ones it'll stand up without knowing the story, but if you know the story, it just goes goes in like a sharp knife. It goes right to it. You know what I mean?
So now that I know the story, I'm going to start crying later because I'm going to have to go re-listen to it with that in mind.
No, don't do that.
Good cry.
The thing about CDs is you still can use them. I mean, every city has a Frisbee contest at the end of every year. So I mean, you got ammo. Let's put it that way.
It's good. It's very pretty. Tell me about this. I see over your shoulder, Mr. Champlin, that this is the same artwork that's right behind you.
Right. Yeah, it's exactly the same artwork. This is an artist we became aware of when we were in Hawaii. Actually, Ruby Mazer turned us on to this artist. He said he's just an unbelievably great artist, and he had a gallery in Lahaina, and we went and looked at it. We immediately bought another piece of art. We're not real art aficionados for that matter. I mean, we got an eyeball, but we're not buy and sell art the way other people buy and sell guitars. Yeah. But this guy, Ruby was saying, this guy's maybe one of the best guys going right now. He's doing some great stuff. And so we bought one before, and then we happened to be in Las Vegas for some reason about a year and a half ago, and we walked by he had a gallery in Las Vegas. We walked by, and the gallery had just closed. You could see people, the gallery, the guy was there, but he locked the door and closed it up, and we looked in the window, and we saw this Symphony for the Sun. And Tamara just said, "Oh my God, Bill, that's your album." And we just looked at it, and then this guy Ash, who was running the shop, he came over and unlocked the door, and we went in and talked about it. And so we licensed the piece of art. We bought the piece of art. We didn't buy the original, but we bought a really top, in-your-face print.
Right.
And then we went just a little while ago. We went up and met with Vladimir. Vladimir Kush is his name. He's Kush. He's an amazing artist.
Vladimir Kush. Look at this. It's beautiful. It's just beautiful. Look at that.
It's really gorgeous.
Yeah.
And it even works on a CD. A lot of record covers that would be great on an LP. Can you imagine that on an LP?
No, that'd be
people would take the record out and they'll put the cover on the wall.
Right. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's absolutely beautiful. I had listened to this whole album. Some sounds were familiar Champlin to me, and then you had some different. So I know that I told you that No Place Left to Fall was a little bit more bluesy sounding,
right,
and this did have a couple of songs had a little bit of a Chicago vibe. Don't hit me for saying that.
No.
But you had you had that tone in some of these songs, and my favorite is
that when I was in Chicago. And both me and Jason, for that matter, and Jason Sheff is on one song in this too. So we did a duet. We haven't sung together since Chicago.
Right.
And some of what was going on vocally in Chicago in the years that I was in there was, it wasn't that I sounded like Chicago, is that they sounded like me. Those records sounded like me. And the producers went, "Hey, go do the vocals. You know, I've learned a lot from David Foster. I've learned a lot from the people that I've worked with over the years, and I got down to where I'm a pretty good vocal arranger. And that turned out when it was time to do records with Chicago, that usually ended up getting handed to me just to do the, you know, I guess you'd call them backgrounds, but I just all the ensemble stuff. I kind of.
I'm so glad that you said that, because if you look at the Chicago 17 album and then going to the Chicago 19 album, the incredible vast difference that there is, and it all is attributed to you and Chef on 19.
Yeah.
There's such a different sound. I'm so glad
Ron
you pointed that
Nevison
out.
produced some of the bigger hits off of 19. He produced Look Away, You're Not Alone, and I Don't Want to Live Without Your Love. Those were songs that he found. And, you know, in a meeting, we were in a meeting, and everybody just, he played Look Away, a rough of Look Away. And it was my telephone in the other room. Heck with it. But
you'll call him back.
Yeah, yeah, it's just probably making noise. My telephone ring goes bow da bow da bow.
Oh my God, that's cool.
Someone's calling on a telephone. Must be Muddy Waters, you know. But so what was I saying before I so quickly tangented out to the other side of the world?
The Chicago 19 album.
Yeah, the 19 album. You know, they were saying, well, let's get this all up in the tenor range, because Chicago songs have to have tenor on lead. And Nevison, to his, you know, I gotta hand it to him. I've owed him this for a long time. Ron said, no, I want that guy to sing it. And you know, 28 years in that band, and I was never really in that inner circle of that band. You know,
right?
They would have not had me just do nothing whole time had it not been for producers going, this guy's bringing something to the ball game. You're crazy not to use it. So, and then at some point in the game, that kind of went away, and that's when things just started to go left. But neither here nor there. It was a good run. I had a good run.
I could not imagine anybody else saying, "Thought it wouldn't matter." I can't imagine anybody else's voice kicking off that song.
Thought it wouldn't matter. Yeah, I do it almost more gospel-y now than I used to than we did it with that. I mean, that was, you know, it was sort of like Diane Warren's demo on it. And it was a cool song. There was no problem with it. But I've done it, you know, with this. Thought it wouldn't matter if we didn't stay together, and if it was over. You know, I mean, I just made it just a little more of a gospel thing. I made it fit me better. You know what I mean?
It's interesting that you say gospel, because when I listen to Love Has No Heart, track 12, again, on Living for Love,
yeah.
I go, is that an organ? I mean, it's definitely gospel. It's got a little gospel vibe to me. And I thought, am I crazy? I'm thinking about that. And I'm glad you said that, because I feel like you brought a little bit of that to the truth, or to Love Has No Heart.
Well, you know,
that's my
organ,
favorite.
You know, if I wasn't a singer, I would be primarily known as an organ player. At least in the rock and roll band world, or the R&B band world, I'm the guy they put on the B3.
Yeah.
You know, Hammond organ. And I've been playing it forever and ever and ever. I mean, there's guys that play circles around me, but I comp pretty well. And I kind of understand sort of vibes of certain things when you do play organ. So I love to play the organ, but I love the guitar too. I mean, and the piano, I mean, the whole thing. The way I look at it is it's all one thing. Even to putting on new strings, you know, which is a drag, but you got to do it. You know? And I look at it as writing the songs, arranging the songs, programming the songs, replacing electric drums with real drummers, you know, real bass, you know, Fender bass with, you know, replacing Fender bass over keyboard basses, that kind of thing. All of it is one thing to me. Putting new strings on the guitar, schlepping the gear into the SUV. It's all part of the same, you know, the same thing. I mean, people say, hey, do you like singing better than organ, or do you like producing better? I said, it's all the same. It's all one thing.
It's all one big collective
one thing
love.
That I do, and it's just what I do. And some days I just go, I don't want to do it today, so I don't do any of it, you know. And I've had those times where it's been that way. I mean, after I got sick, you know, I was fighting cancer, pretty serious, aggressive cancer for about, don't know, 6 months maybe. I started off with surgery, went into radiation, went into chemo. The chemo's fun. That's a day at the beach. But
We
I
are
mean,
so thankful you're here.
Yeah, I didn't do a lot of work, and I was playing with Danny Serafin at the time with CTA, and we were supposed to do some road stuff, and I was right in the middle of doing chemo, and I just went to a rehearsal and said, guys, I gotta beg off. I just don't see myself traipsing through airports how I feel right now.
Yeah.
I barely walk. I mean, that stuff is nasty. Because they were giving me this stuff that made your bones harden. And hurt like hell. That was ugly. You know. So I mean, there's a certain point, certain times in my career, I've just gone, I just don't want to be music today. I want to sit on TV. The only exercise I want to do is do the remote control and go from cartoon show to cartoon show.
Work your thumbs.
Yeah, right. I've got thumbs like this big. Classic.
You know, that's the last time that I saw you was in Atlantic City. I want to say it was 2017. Maybe no, it was early 2018.
Yeah.
And you were just getting through your recovery.
Right.
And I remember we talked about that in Atlantic City.
Yeah.
And I hugged you. I don't know if you remember this, but I hugged you and I said, you look great. And I'm so grateful that you beat this. And then I watched you on stage and I took a lot of video of you that night. But I watched you on stage. I was so thrilled to see you. The last time I had seen you before that was when you were in Chicago in the late 80s. Yeah. And because my dad did your sound for many, many years. Yeah. And so, but my appreciation for you grew more and more each year. So being able to sit with you in Atlantic City and knowing that you had just beat this and then watching your energy on stage was just beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
Thank you very much.
So now I'm going to ask you to share a little bit of your energy. And I know you got to, you have a little bit of a cold working, but can you entertain us with a great song from Living for Love?
Well, how about let's keep it real simple and do Living for Love. It's, a lot of those songs really you need a full band and arrangement, stuff like that. Living for Love, I can get away with doing pretty much how I did it when I wrote it.
Okay. You know what I mean? I'm going to mute myself and you take it away.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to take these cans off for the time being. And, I'm not going to hear you talk, but I'm just going to go head on. I'm going to shorten the song a little bit because you don't want to hear all that stuff.
I'm not talking. I'm going to mute myself and you go.
All right. Let me strap in here. A friend of mine said, hand me my bat wing, Got to figure out where the tempo is. Tris, what's the nothing? What would you do if somebody told you you got a limited time here on the earth, and everyone has the same chances that we were equally given the day of our birth? Hey, yeah. You gotta know it's all in your choices. No one can tell you to make that will show you the way. Just let it all go. Ignore all the voices. You know that the chances you take can't take you away. So far away, you may find what you've been is living for love. All the signs say your life has been a game. Now's the time to begin, maybe living for love. You may lose, you may win, it's the same. You can live for much more than the game. You never again feel ashamed if you're living for love. Now when you live for somebody's approval, somehow when you're looking inside, you find somebody else. Maybe it's time for that someone's removal to toe your own line, lose the lies that they tell. just doesn't rhyme. When your poetry's stolen, you know when you're facing yourself, you're facing the truth. Pay a fine, cause you know you ain't rolling. When you drink from a dishonest well, you're quenching a fool. You may find what you've been isn't living for love. All the signs say your life has just been a game. Now's the time to begin, maybe living for love. You may lose, you may win, it's the same. You can live for much more than the game. You never again feel ashamed.
Now I'm shifting my dialogue to talk about people who are.
Hold on. We're going to get you back.
Hang on,
Okay.
can you hear me? Did I mute
Yes.
somehow? Wait.
No,
was it-
we had to mute somebody coming in
Did it mute somehow?
for just 1 second. We had to mute
Oh.
somebody coming in, but we muted you by, yeah, we're good. We're back.
Okay, we're back.
Right at the end. We're
Okay,
good.
great. Let me turn off this. Let me get these cans off a second. Get this
Okay.
guitar out of here. Put my bat wing down over here.
That was amazing. Living for Love, Bill Champlin. Now,
Okay.
I have an autographed copy of Living for Love that Bill sent me, and I want to do a giveaway right now.
Cool.
So what we're going to do is, well, I'm going to post on social media after this Zoom on my page and actually on the WTMD page. I'm going to post on the WTMD page. And all you have to do is when I post, you have to just the first person to write Living for Love gets this. Okay.
Cool.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That's amazing.
Thanks.
I told you could sing me the phone book. You could sing me the phone book.
Well, I'm going to start with Aardvark. You ready for the Aardvark song?
Yes. Go for it. Johnny is a huge fan of Chicago. I've known Johnny for a while, and they want to know, what is your favorite song that you have written?
That I've written. There's a few. I think in some ways. Hang on. What's up, Tam? Oh, okay. In some ways, Another Lie might be one of them. That's because it's one of the newer ones. But I think one of the ones I wrote for the Through It All album called "Light Up the Candles," which is always a cool song as far as I'm concerned. And then some of the stuff that I wrote with Greg Mathis, and it's insane.
Yeah.
I mean, Greg and I did 3 of the songs on this album, and they were just always just insane. Greg and I co-produced "Burn Down the Night" together. We wrote some really good songs. There's one in there called "Highest Stakes" that's really good. I mean, there's it goes from I think 6/8 to 5/8. And it's just the time signatures are crazy, but it just feels really good.
Tell
So
me-
much music. So I mean, I just like there's a handful. I mean, from day to day, my favorites will change.
Tell me about the songwriting process for Living for Love.
Well, for that, it's just, I mean, we had just done, and I just written, co-written and done almost all of the Wunderground record. So I was kind of I was greased up and ready to go. You know what I mean? I was kind of in the mode. Both Tamara and I were kind of in the mode. So we ended up writing a whole lot of it. Bruce Geitch sent us a song. And it was out of Bruce has kind of not been playing lately because of some physical things, but Bruce is an old writer, an old friend of mine, did a lot of stuff with Richard Marx, and Bruce is just a monster. And his wife, Janie's a monster. I mean, that's another family that's just so musical, it just drives you crazy. But
Yeah.
Bruce sent us a track that he said, man, look what I found in my folder. I must have cut it 3 or 4 years ago, 5 maybe. And it had George Hawkins on it, on bass. I could tell it was Georgie's bass playing, and George passed away a couple of years ago from lymphoma. And I was going, oh man, I've had George on every one of my albums forever, either singing or playing or co-writing. I mean, George and Bruce and I co-wrote a good portion of No Place Left to Fall. We co-wrote All Along and Angelina and the other one?
I love that album.
The
It's a great
Truth.
album. Oh,
Yeah, it's a
great
there's some
album.
cool stuff on that record. But so he sent me this thing, and Tamara just said, "Oh, God, we're writing that right away."
No, I said, give it to me.
Oh, Tamara actually said, "Give it to me." I said, "No, we're both doing this one." And it turned out the drummer on it. I called Bruce. I said, "Who the hell's playing drums?" And Vinny called you. I said, "Oh, well, that pretty much answers that question." George Hawkins and Vinny, please,
Wow.
I saw them play together when I went to see Pages one year. So it's, it's really a small family that I keep going to, and I'm losing some of them here and there.
I know that is a drag. I know you wrote a song with Alan Thicke. I think that was Sarah, right? You
Yeah,
wrote
that was
Sarah with
Sarah.
Alan Thicke.
Yes,
And it's interesting. I love to watch interviews because it's just what I do. So I always, watch other people getting interviewed.
Yeah.
And I actually watched a Fee Waybill interview, and he was talking about switching from the Inside Out album to Completion Backward Principle and working with David Foster, and how David Foster is a perfectionist and then very different from Todd Rundgren. So I know that you've written so many songs with David Foster, worked with David Foster for a long time.
Yeah, I mean,
Talk
I was
a little
for a
bit about
good when David first started doing a lot of productions. I think it was one of his first productions was J.P. Morgan, and he did the Keane Brothers. It was like a TV kids, great musicians, unbelievably great musicians. Johnny, he was 9 years old when I worked with him, and he did all the music for someone see something of the CSI, and his wife is the producer of it. He kind of landed in the clover, and Tom Kane's one of the best writers ever. So I mean, it's just a small group of folks. Now with Sarah, I had the music, just a Rhodes part and a vocal part, and it was one of those ones I just couldn't get the lyrics. I was just not getting it, and it had been around for a while, and I was just not getting it. So we were at a session for some of the rest of the stuff on the album, and Alan came in, and I knew Alan. I'd written some stuff with him before. I said, "Al, take this cassette, see what you can do with it." He came back with the words to Sarah, and it turned out to be one of the better productions on the record. And David Foster is, in some ways, I saw a show one time. He said, "Man, I got Whitney at her best," and I was kind of going, "Well, I got David at his best." He was really in it big time, and he kind of understood what kind of music I liked and where I liked to go with it, and he just cleaned it up and made it really work. He was amazing. I mean, he is amazing. This guy, he's one of the best piano players. Greg Matheson said, David Foster is the best pop piano player on the earth, period, bar none. And if you get a chance to go see his show, because he's back. I mean, he's back on the road again.
He's coming around me, Bill. We might have to talk about that.
Do it. You'll
might have you reach out.
Yeah, it's a small band. He's got a bass player. John Robbins is playing drums, and he's got a utility keyboard synth player.
And his wife is joining him.
Yeah, she sings with him, and she's a great singer.
Amazing.
Great singer. I don't know if she's going to be out now. I think they just had a kid.
No, they're both coming.
Yeah. Oh, great.
Around here.
Yeah. And there was a girl, I don't know if she's going to be on the show. There was another girl, Gia, I forget her last name, who was great. This one guy that really did all the good opera stuff. And he had this girl, Shalea, who I guess works with Quincy.
Wow.
Unbelievable singer.
Wow.
I just said, "Oh my God, she's about the best singer I've ever heard." He said, "Man, wait to hear her play piano. She plays circles around me." So Shalea's on the show. You're in for a treat. She'll tear you up. She's amazingly great singer. I mean, me and Graydon were at the show just going, "Holy shit, this woman can sing anything and make it work." She could do time, news, and weather and get it to #1 in a day. An amazing singer.
Wow.
Yeah.
I always say
I love when I see a musician that's bringing it. That's why I think that's why Prince was so popular. He brought it. He knew what he was doing.
He brought it.
It wasn't just an artist with an attitude. He had this. He backed it up with amazing arrangement and programming and songwriting and lyrics. And forget about it. Miss that guy a lot.
I had the pleasure of seeing him when he came to Baltimore a year before he passed away.
Yeah.
And so I was lucky to just kind of see him right before he passed away.
He's funkier than a 3-day-old Band-Aid,
He is
you know?
it's crazy. It's wild.
Somebody said, man, that's so funky. Move in next door and your lawn dies.
Oh my. So I know that you wrote Sarah with Robin Thicke, and I always say
No,
that.
no, no, Alan.
I mean,
Robin's
I'm
dad.
sorry. I mean,
Yeah.
Alan Thicke. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you, Alan Thicke. And so I always say that songwriters really have the great stories. Sometimes it takes literally an hour to come up with a song. How long did it take you to actually write Sarah?
Well, I had the chord changes. I mean, David did some substitutions in the last part of the song, but the basic chord changes, which I use in the first part of the first couple of verses, I already had that. That was the easy part. I was, I had maybe a year of not getting lyrics. I kept coming up with the wrong shit. It just wasn't working. It's
Right.
happened to me a couple of times here and there. And usually at that point of the game, I just call friends and go, hey, help. So I handed it to Alan. He came back with it. And I happened to be sitting there with Foster. And I just looked at Foster and said, oh, man, this is on. Man, we're doing this. I had to tweak them a little teeny bit, but we got it right. And I was so grateful. Alan just nailed it to the wall. And it ended up being the single off the album.
And I'm going to add it to the Yacht Club playlist. I have not
do.
added it yet, and we will. Can
Yeah.
you please sing us Sarah?
Yeah, okay. I'll do my very level best. Hang on a second.
Everybody stay muted.
How could you let me go the way we've been getting on? I didn't see no sign of trouble. All of a sudden you're gone. How was I meant to know? I left you alone too long. I never thought you needed all of that talking, but I could be wrong. Sarah, I'll never forget your name. Woman is gone, but the feeling is here to stay. Sarah, melody will remain. Though we'll be gone before the sun goes down. Sarah, tear apart, heart you turn around. How could you let me go? Whittle your dreams away. I didn't see you needing me. So give me a moment to say, how can I let you know? I'm willing to give it all. I gather the tears from all of the years, catch them whenever they fall. I catch them whenever they fall. And Sarah, I never forget your name. Woman is gone, but the feeling is here to stay. Sarah, the melody will remain. Though you'll be gone before the sun goes down. Sarah, I never forget your name. Woman is gone, but the feeling is here to stay. Ah, shit. Oh, yeah. We'll be gone before the sun goes down. Sarah, tear apart, heart she turn around. How could you let me go? Sorry about the oh shit.
Oh no, I love that was like amazing. Are you kidding? I love it.
Yeah,
Track
yeah.
3 off of the Runaway album, Sarah. Oh, I love it. You know, I really found it interesting that the Runaway album had so many great contributors. And this is just to name a few. David Foster, Jay Graydon, um, Carbon Grillo, Kenny Loggins, Steve Lukather, Jeff Porcaro, Tom Scott, Leland Sklar. That's just to name a few. There's so many more. What an incredible album filled with so many different talents. I mean,
The
especially
Cats.
yours.
It's
It's
the
such
Cats.
a cool.
Yeah.
When
But
you
we got James Newton Howard to conduct a string thing for us. I think he actually composed
Yeah.
a string thing for The Fool Is All Alone. And there are a lot of people.
a lot of people. So when you get an album together, because people, let's give everybody just kind of an inside look. When you're getting this album together, do you kind of have a vision of who you want to contribute, and you just reach out to these people?
You know, I'm not that clever. At some level, I just kind of write the song. And if me and David write them, then we have that. But at least when David was producing at some level, I was quite a bit younger then. I didn't know that much about production in general. And I learned so much arrangement from him. And I kind of apply it now because he's not around. So I kind of do it myself. Or Greg Matheson. I go to Greg pretty regularly because Greg's such a brother. You know, he's such a close friend. Great guy.
Yeah.
And amazing musician. He produces great records, but the ones that he's known for, believe it or not, is Devo, Whip It, and and Tony Basil,
Mickey.
Hey Mickey.
Hey, Mickey.
Yeah, those were some of his productions. He just happened to fall into those things, you know. But he's an amazing orchestrator, arranger, piano player, bebop player, one of the best organ players on the earth. So, I mean, a lot of these guys were the first call for David. These are guys that David worked with every day, playing for everybody else. So he would, you know, if we had something funky, I mean, he just called up Ray Parker because he just did something with Ray Parker, 2 days ago.
Ghostbusters.
Yeah. Well, Ray's deeper than that. I mean, he's probably one of the best rhythm guitar players in the world.
He's amazing.
Yeah, he's unbelievable. Great. On my first album, the single album, I mean, Parker tore the place apart. Some of the stuff he did. I mean, I had a song that these were the changes. I mean, all these changes that went all over the place. And he came up with that fit it was common to every single chord. It was the most brilliant ignorance I've ever seen.
Wow.
It was perfect. It was like what Steve Cropper always did with the Stax records. Great rhythm part, and then it glued the whole chorus was going all over the place. It was really kind of what I guess Keith Olsen used to call it artsy craftsy, and Ray just glued it. I mean, you get a guy like that. I mean, it's like, for instance, the title song of my last solo album, No Place Left to Fall. It was it was written kind of as one of those sort of folky songs that I get on every song, like guitar.
Right.
Real sort of almost folky thing, with my normal changes, and it was just and then George Hawkins went, why don't we do a U2 groove on this? And then Billy Ward went, great, watch how I'm going to play it. Put down his sticks and played it with his fists.
Wow. And
it made the song. It just saved the song from kind of a tedium of it's another one of Bill's folk songs. You know what I mean? It just turned it into this other thing. So I mean, that's the reason you get guys that are that good, especially guys that are close friends, and that you let them, please. This is what I heard. Now make it better, please. And that's what you call a session guy. A good session guy will do that.
You have a lot of good friends in your circle. I like to see when you post on Facebook that you're having the chefs and the Kimballs over for dinner. What happens around the dinner table when you have those guys over? What are you talking about?
Well, we got a lot of other people. Well, everybody's talking about music most of the time, and bands and record companies, and then the dirtiest of all jokes. That's standard. It's the same shit you talk about.
Probably.
Okay, well, dinner's over. It's time to break out the smut. You know what I mean?
I sat with Bobby in New York City, and he's a talker. He loves to tell stories, so I can
Oh,
just
yeah,
imagine.
Bobby goes off like crazy. Bobby's had a lot of serious problems with his hearing over the
Yes.
years, and he's just it's just health, just different health problems.
But I gotta say,
he's always positive.
he sounded so good on stage at the Beacon Theater for Mandoki Soulmates. He sounded so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some nights he sounds incredible. Other nights you can't not quite getting it. So
Right.
hey, I think we're all guilty of that. That can happen.
Everybody has their days,
But is it the thing in the Big Lebowski? Sometimes you eat the bar, and sometimes the bar eats you. Kind of how it works. Yeah.
I sat with you and Tamara in Atlantic City a few years ago, and I cannot remember for the life of me if I asked this, but I always ask this question. What is your goosey moment where you can think back on a time in your career where it just gave you goosebumps and you couldn't believe it was happening, or you were witnessing it, or, you were playing with a specific artist, or just something happened on stage or in the studio?
With Tamara, a couple of years ago, we were doing a benefit in Santa Barbara, and Bonnie Bramlett was supposed to sing. So they'd worked up a version of Superstar with Michael McDonald and Bonnie Bramlett. So Bonnie kind of pulled out at the last minute of the show, and Tamara ended up doing a duet with Michael. She said, "Well, that's a check mark on my bucket list." Michael's such a sweetie pie. I don't think there's anybody more loving than that guy. He's a sweetie pie. Plus, he's just an amazingly great singer.
Yeah.
And piano player. His playing is like tears me up. It's just ridiculous.
Michael McDonald does the most thorough sound check that I have ever heard from any artist, and I have seen a lot. But that man will sit there and I have recorded yours, actually. I did see your sound check. Yes.
Well, with Ambrosia, it was pretty easy because they're already checked.
Yeah.
Pretty much already checked. So it's just, I got to just fit in the mix. But when I'm going in with my own band, it can be 2-3 hours of you shut up, now it's your turn.
Yeah.
Nobody played, this guy's, it's a turn. Because in the old days, we used to look at sound checks as just a time to jam. We just start jamming, and then we get on the show and go, I can't hear my vocal. You're supposed to do that before. So when I remember I went over with my own band to Sweden, and I was playing with the band, and I started doing really kind of very, very disciplined sound checks. And then I went over there again with another band with Jay Grade and All Stars. And the sound, the monitor guy was the same guy. I said, "Bill, could you do what you do, please? Because these guys are all just jamming. I can't hear anybody say anything to me, because you got a little language thing anyway."
Right.
Swedish to English. It was Klaus. He was a good, he spoke well English. And my mom said, Bill, you speak well English." He's an English major. Anyway, it's, if it isn't right, and I know Chicago just never had the sound check. After a while, they had the same board, the same levels, the same mixer, and those guys were all using in-ears. I used them the last year. I'm not a real fan of in-ear monitors.
Yeah.
I know everybody uses them, and I know I'm just old school, and
some people are picky about in-ear monitors. I get it. Sometimes it's really just, it messes with you.
The thing is that when they first came out, I just kind of went, you're getting a sound source this far from your eardrum. What happens if it goes out of whack?
Mm-hmm.
And somebody said, well, they got compressors in them. They won't. I said, hey, I got compressors in my studio. A couple of them broke. If that sucker breaks while those things are in there, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Big trouble. Huey Lewis has had some problems. He's got Barrett's disease, I think, where if he's talking to one person, that's the only sound. Everything's great. The minute there's any more than 2 different sound sources, it just turns into. And a lot of people feel that it probably started because he was cranking his in-ears too loud. He's unable to play. There's one of the sweetest people on the earth.
I know.
One of the nicest guys ever. I love him.
I'm gonna call you like this week and tell you my story about Huey.
Oh, Huey's a kid. He's a funny guy.
So let's bring Tamara in.
Hey, Tam, you want to make some noise?
Let's make some noise with Tamara.
Just making noise. We're making noise.
We're gonna bring Bill's wife Tamara
She's in the
She's
kitchen. She's in
amazing.
the kitchen, believe it or not, making scones. All we
Where's
need is
my-
bangers
where's my
and mash and PG tips, tea, and some scones. Next thing you know, I'll be singing Mike and the Mechanics songs or something. Whoops.
So this is a
Champlin's gone. You know, it's like when Madonna moved to London. Within a week, she had a deep British accent.
Yeah,
But that's all it took was a week.
1 week. It's amazing. It's
Come
amazing.
on back.
I'm over here.
Come on over here.
Tamara, hi Tamara.
Hi.
Look at this beautiful woman. Love her. This is one of your
You know what?
songs.
You know,
I think you should sit here.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
sit where I'm sitting.
Can Tamara hear me?
I have another chair. I
Can
could
you?
actually-
No, you know what? I'm gonna pull a can for a minute.
Okay. Look at this beautiful woman.
Stay there.
Hi.
I can hear most of it, but I
This
have
is,
the one from my the meeting, so I could.
This
not-
is one
not-
of Tamara's songs, If You're Not the One for Me, that was
This
on a
was-
Tim Scott CD, and you duetted it with Brenda Russell, right?
Tom Scott and Bill and
Tom
Brenda
Scott.
Russell.
Yep.
And
Bruce Geitz was the co-writer.
Bruce and I wrote it.
Beautiful.
Here-
We would
here
love to
comes-
hear it.
And the session for the Tom Scott record was another one of these. David Page was on piano. Abraham Laboriel was on bass. John
Wow.
Robinson was on drums. And who's the guitar player whose name I can remember?
Dean
That's a
Park?
lineup.
Dean Parks was on guitar.
He asks me that every time he
I
talks
just-
about this record.
I'm sorry. That's not right. Okay.
Yeah.
I get the feeling something ain't right. You walk away, silhouette in the night. All along, I keep telling myself to be strong, believe in yourself.
You throw the dice just to let them fall. Pick up the pieces of my crystal ball. Why in the world would I need someone else? Oh no, I won't let myself.
Something tells me that it's too late to turn back now.
I know I've got to find a way to show you somehow. If you're not the one for me, where will I go when my nights are lonely? Maybe there's a chance we'll see. Or surrender, but I don't wanna lose you now. Another dream I'll never tell. Lost to the bottom of my wishing well. Oh, let it go just to see where we stand. Oh no, it's out of my hands.
We've come so far just to run away. I still believe in every word that you say. How in the world could you love somebody else? Oh no, you're fooling yourself.
Just don't tell me that it's too late to turn back now.
There's got to be a better way to show you somehow.
Where will I go when my nights are lonely? Maybe there's a chance we'll see for surrender, 'cause I don't wanna lose you. Don't wanna lose you now.
Yes, that was beautiful. That was so beautiful.
That's
Thank
on the
you.
Tom Scott, keep this love alive album.
It's beautiful.
Well,
Oh,
it was a single on GRP Records back in the sort of the jazz, kind of sort of
90s.
jazz label a little bit,
Yeah.
smooth jazz, whatever it is, a precursor to smooth jazz, I guess.
that was a treat for all of us. Thank you so much for sharing that. And you
Thank
guys are
you.
just such a wonderful couple. It's always a joy to see you guys together.
We're still together.
still together.
If you've ever seen Live in Color, that's just an in joke.
Yes. Bill, thank you
Our
so
dogs
much
didn't
for
even start
coming on
barking.
with us
Wait
tonight.
a minute, the real producer of all of
The
our
dogs
records.
didn't even start barking. Rocky didn't even start barking. He's like-
We got
I usually have to hold him when I'm singing. In the
I
house.
love, oh, puppy. Hi,
These-
Rocky.
I say the vocals on my album that I
Need a
kind of,
picture.
I just sit down and record like it's an office job. I punch myself in and out.
He sits on Bill's lap the whole time.
And Rocky gets
Oh.
on my lap. I've sung most of my vocals on the last two albums I've done with Rocky sitting on my lap. So he gets credit as co-producer of the record.
Well,
No,
we got
Daddy, that's not good.
we got a pandemic baby, and
What?
we got a pandemic
Oh,
baby.
is that
Oh,
is that
That's,
pug?
that's a puggle, and his
yeah.
name
So
is
cute.
Louis. I'm
Louis
wondering if you can
cool.
see-
I like
Louis,
Louis.
yeah. So that's our Louis. We got a pandemic baby, and he joins big sister puggle Georgie.
Oh, so you got
After
Puggles.
hey
You
there,
got
Georgie
Puggles to snuggle.
Snuggly
basically.
Puggles, yes.
here we
Oh,
go.
I love Rocky. Hi, baby. We
Right,
love
right.
dogs. We're so dog friendly.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Well, again, I just want to point this out. We're going to be doing a giveaway on the WTMD page.
Can
we have
we
signed
throw a shameless hint in there? All of these things are available on CD. Well, my album is available at on iTunes, Living for Love, Bill Champlin, Living for Love,
Yes.
on
Bill Champlin,
iTunes and
Living
Spotify and all the other places that you do that. But if you like CDs, and especially with this cover, we're going ahead and doing it at billchamplin.com/shop. So billchamplin.com/shop.
Shop.
It's
Okay.
it's a really decent, it's a cool album. I've kind of finished it almost a year ago, and I still listen to it. Usually when I'm done with a record, I ain't gonna hear it for a while. I'm
is.
done with this.
It's a great record, and I love how different your records are. So I have a few of them now, and listen, and they're just different vibes, and they're
Well, thank you.
great.
Thanks very much.
Again, my favorite male vocalist of all time.
Well, the next album I'm trying to figure out a new demographic to go for, and I think the hip hop rap polka hasn't been explored yet. So that's what I'm going to do next.
I think
mean-
that you need to do a dog album and
Yeah.
feature Rocky.
Yeah, and then we'll get this sort of Lawrence Welk meets Jay-Z kind of vibe. I think it might be cool.
Who let the dogs out too?
Exactly. No, bring the dogs in. Around
Bring
here,
the
there's-
dogs in.
Yeah, around here there's coyotes everywhere, so we gotta we don't
Oh.
just send them out to pee. We got to go out there with them. Just 'cause-
Oh my goodness.
these things are ridiculous, especially when it's really hot up in the hills. They come down to they smell the water in the pool.
Yeah.
So the coyotes, there's no water up there, so they come down for the water and then find the garbage cans and the small dogs.
You keep that
Yes.
Rocky safe.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We've been on. We lost one. A little while. Ruby. We loved her, but we traded her for Chloe. Chloe's sitting over there sleeping. She's
Aw.
she's the hunter in the family. She likes to chase squirrels. Let me out. I want to go look at squirrels. And the
Of
squirrels
course. Don't
the
they
squirrels
all?
tease her. But come down the tree right to where she is and then climb back up again. Just teasing the hell out of it. Poor little doggy.
Oh my goodness.
Just being made fun of by the local animals. Class.
Bill, it's always a pleasure. Loved having
Meredith.
you on tonight.
You're a doll. I love hanging with you. I can't wait to
Thank
see you. I think we're doing something with the Ambrosia kids. Well, not, I think Burley and Mary and a couple of people from, I think maybe John Ford, Coley might do some stuff. I think we're doing something in Florida later on in the year.
So there is a Rock the Dock concert with Peter Beckett, Player,
Yeah.
Ambrosia, John Ford Coley, and Gary Wright, which is in September in Bensalem, Pennsylvania,
Yeah.
which is just under a 2-hour drive. I'm bummed that you're not on that bill.
Well, there
But
you go.
you need to come like closer to Maryland, and then come to Maryland and just visit, and we'll get steamed crabs.
There you go. I'm allergic to crab, but other than that, we're fine. People
We'll
always say, "Hey man, look at this, a great wine with this great dinner," and I'm going, "Well, the dinner looks good, but I kind of left the wine behind about 35 years
Yeah.
ago."
Oh, bummer. Okay, well, we've got other great stuff here in Maryland,
Yeah,
so
yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, you're right off the Chesapeake Bay. I mean,
that's right.
beautiful there.
That it is. So come visit.
And
I'll
I've been
really-
to Boston. My son Will went to Berkeley, so we
Right.
went to Boston an awful lot, and we discovered legal seafoods. It's just about living. I remember we were basing out of Boston one year, and Triss and Bowden went and got lobster Caesar salads every day for about 2 weeks.
Oh my gosh,
And Triss he's a
that
fish
sounds
freak.
so good.
And by the way, Triss is doing real well. He had a little run with cancer for a while, and it's been 10 years, and he's swinging. Still
Good.
doing well. And I work with Jason on a lot of different projects. We're going to do something eventually. He's got a band that he's working with Jay DeMarcus and Dean Castanova,
Yeah,
and Chris Rodriguez and a handful of other guys.
sure.
Called, I think, Radio Generation, what they're calling themselves, something like that. And but him and me and actually Tommy Thayer have a project together. Tommy's the guitar player from Kiss, and I know he's the makeup and everything. If you're not a Kiss fan, but he's a good guitar player. He's a great musician and a really fun guy, really cool guy.
I was made for loving you, baby. Remember?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
You're
Let
like,
me-
I wanna rock and roll all night.
Let me tell you, my
Party
brother
every day.
is 5 years older than me, and I grew up with Kiss and Van Halen in my face day and night.
Well, Van Halen, I mean, everybody always says, "Oh man, the original Van Halen with David Lee Roth, that's the best ones." And I don't know. I thought they were smoking Sammy.
I prefer Sammy. Just
Yeah.
gonna put it out
It's
there. I love
just
Sammy.
right out front, he's just a better singer, better
Yeah.
musician, good guitar player himself.
Mhm.
But, when you got Eddie on the stage, you don't really need to play it too often. A little rhythm here and there. But
Yep.
Eddie was another one we lost. It's Eddie. I mean, we did a gig with the Sons one time years ago in might have been at Santa Monica Civic or Long Beach Civic, and it was AWB was the biller, the top biller. Sons were second lineman, and there was a group that was playing and just making a lot of noise in the clubs around town called Van Halen that opened. That was the third biller. I mean, they played like 25 minutes maybe. And I just said, well, let me see what these guys are all about. I didn't know anything. I hadn't heard anything about them. They were just out of nowhere, just this band on the stage. And I listened for about 4 bars, and I ran to the green room and got the guitar player from the Sons. I said, Hag, you got to check this guy out. He's going to tear you to pieces. Aside from doing the splits on the stage in the middle of an insane solo that nobody in the world could play, doing the hammer on, doing all the other stuff. Terry just listened to me and went, and Terry Haggerty he's a big innovator on guitar anyway with the Sons. I mean, he opened a lot of doors for a lot of players. And, in other words, he played it and they said, hey, if he can do it, I can do it. So it just kind of slowly but surely changed everybody's style a little bit. But Terry was going, I don't have any idea what the hell he's doing, but my God, is he good at it. So, there's just so many good musicians out there. And the music scene's so crazy right now. It's just, if it's even there.
Right.
At all, you know what I mean? Yeah. But I'm glad if, sessions are starting to happen. People are going out now. So that makes some sense.
Crossing fingers. And
Yeah.
we need to get you guys over here on the East Coast because
I'd love to be there. I'd love to get out of town for a minute at some point in the game. It should be nice, wouldn't it?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, I love you, darling. Thank you so much for having us on your show.
Thank you, Meredith.
And-
Love you guys so much. Love you guys
Okay.
so much. And I'm calling you later, this
See you
week. We'll chat.
soon.
Cool. Love you.
Thank
See
you,
you soon.
camera.